Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. We're moving on from the mighty First Legion to a much more divisive Legion, I think. We are looking at the perfect, incredibly obnoxious and, let's be honest, very glorious sons of the Phoenician today, the Emperor's Children. As you may know, these guys are all about being perfect in every single way. Art, history, music, and of course, combat. They were one of the smallest legions throughout the Heresy, but they have played a big part in what is arguably some of its most vital moments, from taking the anathema from Leia, to rebuffing the warning from Eldrad against the Heresy, to, being the first legion to have its Primarch kill another Primarch, with Fulgrim lopping off poor Ferrus Manus' head on Istran 5. So let's dive into the rules that they've shown off today and see what the boys in purple can do on the battlefield. They start off with the very aptly named army rule of Flawless Execution, and what this does is it gives you two bonuses. The first is that when you make a successful charge, even if it's disorganized, you can make your attacks at one initiative step higher than you usually can after accounting for any modifiers. So your regular Marines, they will be striking at initiative 5, meaning that you will get to swing before all of your Astartes brothers, which is a huge advantage in an initiative-based game. That means that you can really rely on the fact that you won't be losing lots of precious models before you get to do your damage. You, against Marines anyway, know that you're going to be able to at least charge in and kill off a few of them before they get to swing back. But what this also means is that because it's done after accounting for any other modifiers, all those things that normally drop you down to initiative 1, like power axes and power fists and all those unwieldy weapons, will now be going at initiative 2 rather than 1. So yes, whilst you will still be going after things like regular Marines at initiative 4, you will be going before enemy Terminators and enemy units with power fists and those other slow weapons, which is going to mean you are going to drastically decrease the amount of damage coming back into you from those big scary weapons, as you will get to attack and kill off a few of their models before they can swing back into you. And I genuinely think this buff is going to be hugely powerful in a game where, whilst there is things like the Mechanicum and Custodes, a lot of the battles are going to be between Marine armies and Astartes armies, so it is going to be very much a mirror match a lot of the time, and you are going to have, your Marines charging into Marines, your Terminators charging into Terminators and all that kind of stuff. So getting to essentially swing first against all of those combats is going to really put you in a good position for not only killing them as much as you can, but also surviving, because there will be less attacks coming back into you. The rule also gives you +1 to hit rolls when you shoot with defensive weapons as part of a reaction. And again, as I said yesterday, I think reactions does include things like the Overwatch mechanics and that sort of stuff. And I think also defensive weapons are going to be things like your bolters, your stubbers, pintle mounted weapons on tanks. It's not going to be +1 to hit on anything super scary, I don't think. But getting an extra little damage buff to your defensive weapons and, being able to hit a little bit better with them is certainly a nice bonus to have on top of the main drawing point, which is, of course, boosting your initiative when you charge in. And I really do think that in a lot of the mirror matches that we're going to see in Heresy, this is going to make the Emperor's Children punch way above their weight class when they're going into other squads of Marines or Terminators, and just making sure that you can kill as many of them before they get to do their attacks back. They also, in the article today, show off a unique Warlord trait for the Emperor's Children, with Paragon of Excellence, letting your Warlord grant +1 to weapon skill to a unit in a turn that they pass a morale check, and then on top of that, allowing you to make an extra reaction during your opponent's movement phase, as long as the Warlord is of course on the battlefield. This is fairly decent, I think. The extra reaction could be good or not, depending on what reactions we end up having access to, of course, but the +1 weapon skill is actually really tasty for the Emperor's Children, and what that means is that in the aforementioned mirror fight of Marine on Marine, if you charge in, not only will you be hitting first with the +1 initiative, but also with +1 weapon skill, you will be hitting them on 3s rather than 4s. It's obviously a little bit useless if your units aren't being forced to take any morale tests, but I do think that with the game being the way it's going to be and the army sizes being what they are going to be, you probably will be making a reasonable amount of morale tests over the course of a battle, so there will at least be a few units that you can buff with this over the course of the game. I don't think it's mind-blowingly good. It's not kind of coming out to me as the best Warlord trait that you will always take and will just completely put all the other ones to shame. But I do think that it's going to help you win combats and avoid taking as many casualties in return, because you will be hitting them better, and of course you will be hitting them first if you manage to get the charge off. So this, combined with the flawless execution army rule, is really going to help your army to be not only more offensive but also bring you more defensive qualities, because the more enemies you kill, the less there will be to swing back into you. But there we go, that is some of the Emperor's Children rules that they've shown off today. I have to say, I think they are looking pretty great, especially when you consider that a lot of the armies are going to be Marines in the Heresy. So in those mirror matches, this does look like a pretty solid set of rules to have. Maybe slightly less useful against things like Custodes or Mechanicum, depending on what their stat lines end up being. But on the charge, if your Marines go up to Initiative 5, that does at least mean you will be swinging at the same time as the Custodes, unless their rules change, because I believe they are Initiative 5 base at the moment. So that will at least help you to do some damage to them before your guys get killed. And then of course the Warlord trait is just a nice way to get some extra hits and make sure that you are hitting on 3s a bit more rather than 4s if you're going into other Marines. So they're pretty nice rules for Marine on Marine fights, and I think in general it's going to make them a pretty scary legion to have charging into you. But what do you think of these rules? And will you be painting up your forces in that gorgeous purple, or are they a little bit too gaudy for you? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.